Me and community development first met actually by me walking down a street in London, and suddenly this thought popped into my head. I know what I want to do. I want to be a community worker. And at that stage I'd been a bad social researcher in Adelaide, and gone travelling and worked at, I think I was working in the Harrods toy store at the time, which was one of the great privileges of my life. My sons still think that's the pinnacle of my career. And I suddenly got this thought, I want to be a community worker, and I had no idea what that meant.
Gosh.
and then a bit later, there was a job advertised as play leader at a gypsy site. Now, I knew so little about gypsies that I assumed that what that meant was play leader at some sort of adventure playground, which was called a gypsy site. But then I got the duty statement, and it was about working with travellers in Britain. And I'd done 4 lectures at uni on travellers. That was the extent of my knowledge, and I knew nothing about community development. But it was with Save the Children Fund, and they paid diddly squat. And so I got the job, basically, me and a shining light in my life called Terry Sutterby. And we started working with the travellers then in what was generally seen as a community development approach. Our main job then, I know this isn't about WA, but our main job, it really informed me, this job, because of the learning that I got from not knowing what I was doing, if you know what I mean. But guided well in a way, because our main job was to develop a playgroup. And in Britain, playgroups tend to have playgroup leaders, which was us. But the purpose of that was because it was a point of engagement with the travellers. And then the successful work we did from there, work that I considered really successful, was simply connection with mainstream services, because health and education and social, the social work departments and so on, and the local governments really weren't engaged with the travellers. And it was our job to link them up, which was very easy to do because we became a safe point on traveller sites. The other work we did though was we took the Secretary of State and the 2 local governments to court over their inhumane accommodation of the travellers. And we won that court case, but it made absolutely no difference. And I was really, over the years, I've been really struck by that basically the government found other ways of getting around their human rights obligations, even though the courts had said, yeah, this is inhumane. So that's where it started, and then I went travelling and ended up in Western Australia. Oh, that was between about 1981 and beginning of 81 to about the end of 83. So it was about 3 years. I think it was perhaps 3.5 years. I can't remember exactly, but about 3.5 years. I got in Adelaide Uni and got a Bachelor of Arts degree in psychology and human geography, which was just a completely weird mix at the time. But I remember one bloke saying in the future that will be a really good degree, which everybody else thought it was stupid. But he said the psychology focused on the individual, human geography focused on the structural, and understanding both of those is going to be crucial. And it's true, really. It kind of gave me, I often am grateful for that, because it kind of gave me a way of thinking. I don't remember anything I learned, but it gave me a way of thinking that both focus on the individual and the structural. And that runs through my community work now, that if we just focus on the structural without understanding what drives an individual human being, we lose it. Anyway, I also, while I was over there, that job with the travellers was part-time. And I also, for 9 months, worked in a child education centre in Notting Hill. And again, in an extraordinary community, which I was really just a participant and observer, a passive participant and observer, because I got to live in Notting Hill, where there's a lot of West Indian culture. And other Muslim cultures, a real fantastic mix. Very rich or very poor, because you could either, like me, you got council housing, or you were hugely rich. And so that centre was a real hub of community, and that's been probably one of my main experiences of really working in locality-based community, working and living in locality-based community. You'd go down to the Portobello Road markets and you'd be constantly seeing people you know and you work with, and seeing the kids and seeing the gypsies, and the gypsies would knock on the door and come and use your toilet, and all this sort of the joys and difficulties of living in community was that. So that gave me a bit of a passion in a way for community work, and I don't know if it did give me a passion for community work. I was exhausted by the end. I just think perhaps it's work I kind of see as really valuable, and it exhausts me as well. And so I do stints out in and out of community work because I'm quite sort of shy in a way, which I know I talk a lot, but the ease of being in groups is something that doesn't come naturally to me. And so being in community and being in all those tensions, although I'm really good at handling tensions and difficulties and facilitating and stuff, it costs me a fair bit. So at the end of that, and childcare work was it is a scandal to me that childcare workers get paid what they get paid, because it was easily the most stressful thing I've ever done, and required so many skills. So I decided, on long train trips across Asia, that my fantasy job was doing social research into childcare, and sort of said, yeah, but that's silly because who would do it, and who would fund it, and blah blah blah. And I wasn't an academic, and came over to Perth for a 3-week family reunion base. And the day after we arrived in Perth, there was a job, research officer with a childcare planning committee, and
right.
So I'm here. So that was my beginnings in Perth.